Hello, my name is Dr. Adam Ramsey, and before I was ever a doctor, I was a black man in America. My story is not unlike what other people have experienced in this country. And from what we are seeing now, the riots and the protests, I really want to take a moment to let you guys understand that I could be George Floyd. I could be Trayvon Martin. I could be any one of those people that have been murdered in this country. And I have been through a lot as far as being a black man in America. I have experienced racism in every step of my life from the police and from people around me. And even when you see me laugh, and even when you see me at a conference, or even when you see me on social media, that's something that we have learned to, as black people in America, to compartmentalize our struggles. I remember driving to optometry school in the car full of all my stuff. And I stopped to get gas in Alabama, and the police officer pulls up next to me after I finished getting gas and asks me, why am I here? And what am I doing here? And I tell him I'm going to optometry school, and he asks for my ID. He asks for my passenger's ID. And then after he checks and realizes we don't have anything, he says, don't stop again in my state, and I'm going to follow you all the way out of my state until you get out of here. And I don't want to see you stop again. For no reason. I had nothing, had done nothing. I was in a gas station getting gas. I remember when I graduated optometry school and I got my brand new car, and I am driving down the street, and I think I make a rolling stop at a stop sign. Wrong for the rolling stop. Police officer then pulls me over and asks me if I have warrants. That's the first thing you ask me? If I have warrants? I asked, oh, no. And I gave him my license registration. He said, well, the reason I pulled you over and I want to ask you these questions is you don't look like you deserve to have this car. You don't look like you can afford this vehicle. And so it's a little suspicious of me seeing you driving here. And we've had quite a few break-ins, and I want to make sure you weren't one of those people. Now, this is a month after I get this vehicle. I'm proud of myself for going to optometry school and gave myself a little reward. And the reward I get from the police is, you look like you probably stole that. Now, what made you think for me driving with the windows down on a Sunday afternoon that I look like I stole something? That is what black people in America experience. Me as a doctor did not change my experience. So I want you to learn and understand that there needs to be a change. And I stand with those that are protesting, and I stand with those that are looking for a change. Black Lives Matter.
Greetings, colleagues. My name is Dr. Darrell Glover. Some of you may know me as your favorite optometrist. And before I was your favorite optometrist, I was a black male in America. And even as your favorite optometrist, I still am a black male in America. Being a black male in America, I have been faced with racism my entire life. Even in my youth, I was called the N-word, I was called blackie, and I was called boy, and tons of other names as well. I remember even in my youth being harassed by police officers at the age of 7 and 9. I recall like it was yesterday. My father took my sister and I to a boating class. And after we left that boating class, my sister and I would always race to the car. One day, my sister and I were met by police officers with their guns drawn. And they told us to get on the ground, face on the ground, hands up. And when my father asked them why they pulled their guns on us and why they stopped us, they didn't have a reason. I can tell you the reason. It's because we're black. Throughout my life, I've been harassed by police officers. I've been put in handcuffs on numerous times and told by police officers, white police officers, that they would beat my black ass and there's nothing that I could do about it. And this has happened more than one time. Imagine living a life when you're riding in your own car and you get pulled over for being black. Imagine how it feels when I pass a police officer. Do I feel safe? No. I'm wondering, are they going to pull around, look at my tags, pull me, and harass me for no reason? This is the reality of a black male in America. Even as your favorite optometrist, with my name on the office that I practice in, I've had patients come in and tell my team, I do not want to see him because he is black. Regardless of seeing the reviews, regardless of knowing that I'm a great clinician, They found out I was black and they had a change of heart. Even when it comes to reps coming into the office, I've had reps come to me and say, I'm looking for Dr. Glover. Are you his technician? Why do I have to be the technician? Why can I not be the doctor? Throughout my life, I have faced racism day in and day out, regardless of being an optometrist, regardless of being a son, regardless of being a brother, regardless of being a father, regardless of being your favorite optometrist. Racism is a real deal, and we need to do something about it. Black Lives Matter.
Hello, this is Dr. Janelle O'D, CEO and founder of Green Eyes Vision Center and Premier Eye Spa. Before I was ever an optometrist, I was black. Growing up as a little black girl in the outskirts of Detroit, I was always very curious, smart, organized, energetic, and service-oriented. However, quickly my innocence was stripped away when I started middle school. I was the only black girl in the entire 6th grade class of about 200 plus students. Unfortunately, every day I was aware of my color. I was greeted with racial slurs, I was disenfranchised, and I was made to feel like I wasn't welcome by both teachers, staff, and students. Plenty of times I was told to go back to Africa. Unfortunately, I started optometry school many years later, and at this specific institution, I felt some of those same feelings. It was so bad that I actually dropped out of that institution. I did not want to spend my money at an institution that did not care about me as a person and only wanted to fulfill a quota and did not care about my optometric journey. I went on to graduate from a great institution in 2006, and I've been practicing optometry ever since for the last 14 years. I wish I could say that those experiences I had in the past, that I no longer experience those, but unfortunately I can't. Plenty of times I go to optometry conferences and CEs, and there are very few people that look like me, and sometimes I'm considered the help. I even had one colleague tell me when I met him at a conference, we were learning about contact lenses, he introduced himself, and he said, wow, so I heard black people are doing well for themselves in Atlanta. In order for there to be change, we first must be heard, seen, and included. Black Lives Matter.
I am Dr. Thomas Hunter, Assistant Professor of Ophthalmology at Duke University. Before I became an eye surgeon, I was a black man and considered by most to be a threat to society. I was taught to obey police officers, and if you are approached by an officer, to follow all commands. And if they attack, don't resist, otherwise they will kill you. I was raised in Harlem, New York until I was a teenager, when I moved to Georgia, and I can assure you that the same rules apply in Georgia as they did in New York. Unfortunately, I had to apply these rules when I was wrongfully arrested for being black in America at the age of 19. I was arrested and threatened by police officers, but managed to survive the encounter. In college, I was encouraged by my pre-med advisors to choose another profession because there was no way I can get into medical school. Through hard work and determination, and against the advice from my advisors, I went on to medical school, and now I get to practice ophthalmology and perform eye surgery at one of the top eye hospitals in the world. At every step in my journey, I have experienced racism that to this day continues to try to hold me down. Even as a medical doctor, when I take off the white coat, I'm still a black man. And now that I have 2 black sons, I hope to teach them the lessons that I've learned to help them navigate being black in America.
I'm Samantha Love, and I am the CEO of Claremont Family Eye Care. Before I was an optometrist, I was a black girl who grew up in Fort Pierce, Florida. My parents wanted the best for us, so they enrolled us in 3rd grade into a magnet program for elementary, middle, and high school. In kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade, I didn't know all of the color differences because all of my teachers and classmates looked like me. But at the new school, I can count on my hand how many teachers look like me. I asked my mom, why do the teachers and my classmates call me black when I'm really brown? She had to explain to me why, but at that point I wanted to be lighter. I wanted to look like them. My PE teacher looked like me, the janitor looked like me, and the cafeteria workers looked like me. But none of my teachers looked like me. I didn't have another teacher that looked like me until I went to middle school, and that was my history teacher. She taught us so much about Black history that was not covered in the normal school curriculum. Normally, we learn about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and Harriet Tubman. But what about the other African Americans or Black people who helped to shape America? I wanted to know more about those. That's why I chose to go to Southern University, which is a historically Black college and university, a HBCU. I wanted to learn about the Black college experience. I wanted to learn about Black history, and I wanted to learn about just being Black in general. What do I want? I want for us to be included. I want for you to be receptive towards people who do not look like you. I want you to be sensitive to the feelings of people who do not look like you. Many times we congregate together with other minorities because we are looked upon in a bad manner or frowned upon, or many times comments are made that make us feel less than what we are. But we learn to develop a thick skin and get past that. This is my story, and Black Lives Matter.
Hi, this is Dr. Ansel Johnson, and I'm going to give a few words about my experiences as being a Black optometrist. I can give numerous stories in terms of my experience, in terms of growing up in Robbins, Illinois, all Black suburban community just outside Chicago. My first experiences that I remember with integrated school system, undergrad at a PWI in downstate Illinois, and then optometry school at the New England School of Optometry. But after all of that, we always receive little things that try to discourage us. And again, my foundation is being unashamedly Black and unapologetically Christian, because I'm blessed with strong parents, a mother and a father that instilled those values in me and would not let me quit. As an optometrist, it's so important that our young people see us, because we are a rarity, and it should not be that way. But in the words of Juwanza Kunjufu, it's hard to be what you haven't seen. So brings me great joy in young people. You bring a smile when they see you because you look like them, or a senior citizen just automatically has a world of trust in you because they know you really care about them, that you can sit up and you can pray with them, that you understand their hardships and their burdens and their successes and their joys. It's truly a blessing. So with that being said, Black Lives Matter and Black Eyes Matter. Thank you.
Is Dr. Corley. I practice optometry in the first state, Delaware. Before I was an optometrist, I was just known as Whitney, a young Black woman with dreams and aspirations. I've lived in a predominantly Black neighborhood in Newark, New Jersey, and a mixed neighborhood in South Florida. Although I grew up in those neighborhoods, I never had a doctor that looked like me. I grew up never judging anyone by the color of their skin, but rather their character. Despite this observation, I made a conscious effort to initiate change and be that representation in a field where I can make a difference in the lives of many. Upon graduation from optometry school, I was one of 3 Black graduates. That was out of around 63 students. Representation matters for African Americans. I can't tell you how many patients have said, "Wow, I have never seen a Black eye doctor." I'd love for my children to grow in a country where they feel safe and not threatened due to the color of their skin. I'd love my children to be able to walk by a crowd of Caucasian students and not be called Blackie or have fingers pointed at them saying, "Ew." Those are actually true events. I'd love for my children to grow and be able to drive and not be fearful that they may encounter a racist officer with malintent. I'd love for school counselors and teachers to undergo appropriate diversity training to avoid interjecting their negative thoughts by telling the student that you'll never become a doctor, so why don't you just choose a different career? Change begins within the home, all across America. Let's start off by choosing to understand the story of the Black person that you know.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Ruzicka. I'm an optometrist at Bascom Palmer Eye Institute. Before I became an optometrist, I was a Black woman. When I take my white coat off, my badge, my scrubs, I'm just another person of color in public. As a child, I lived outside of America in a multiracial community for a few years, exposing me to many different people of all backgrounds. I lived blinded by racism existing. It wasn't until I was 19 that I had my first conscious encounter with prejudices. Unfortunately, I didn't stand up for myself, for what's right. Later, at 22, I was a victim of being judged solely by the color of my skin. I was wrongfully arrested by a white cop. I forgave him for he did not know. That's what I said. And I still didn't stand up for myself. But that's why I'm alive today and was able to start optometry school 4 weeks later. That's just one of many stories. I am blessed to have so many friends and family and colleagues that have treated me as one of them. And I wish that my story, the stories you hear, didn't exist. The truth is, institutionalized racism is 100% real. It's raw and honest truth that our culture, our normalcies need to change. My ask to you is, 1, get uncomfortable and self-examine your prejudices in times that you've stayed silent. 2, call your friends and family of color and ask them their story. 3, learn what empathy is and how to place it into action. We all want peace, and to have peace, we can't be silent. I leave with you. If we are all in this together, then we can't forget that Black Lives Matter.
I'm Dr. Danielle Richardson, and I'm a practicing optometrist in Los Angeles, California. I'm so proud to be a Black woman, and I am blessed to come from a family that has always instilled Black pride and Black excellence within me. I'm so lucky because I was able to see Black doctors, Black dentists, Black accountants, Black lawyers when I was younger, and I've always seen us be successful. Unfortunately, as Black people, we have to live by a different set of rules, and this is something our parents teach us very early. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, and that is where I grew up, and I went to college in Indiana at Indiana University, and I went to optometry school there as well. My whole family went to IU. My grandma went there as well, but unfortunately my grandma didn't finish college at IU because the environment was so racist, she could not take it. She told me a story about the straw that broke the camel's back. Is she was walking down the street and she was passing the street, sharing the sidewalk with white people, and she didn't get off the sidewalk for them to pass, and they spit on her. So when people think about race and when people think about racism, it seems so far away, but that is my grandmother. So that just kind of shows you where we are with things and how our experience is so different. The first time I was called a racial slur, I was under the age of 10. So this is something I have known my entire life. Our parents, as Black people, they teach us that we have to work twice as hard to get half as far because we will always be perceived as less than because of our race. While it's unfair, it is an ugly reality and an ugly truth, and it is something that I have internalized and applied to my life. So how I have dealt with race throughout my career in academia and as a professional is always to wear it like a badge of honor. I lean into being Black. I lean into being a Black woman. As a student, I was the national president of the National Optometric Association, where we advocate for underrepresented and minority students. I have always been Black and proud, and that is something that I will continue to be because I'm unfazed by, some of the experiences we have. Also, one of the things that I personally choose is I actively choose to be in more diverse spaces While Indiana was a great place to grow up, it just was not for me. So I left as soon as I could. And now I live in Los Angeles, and I prefer to be around a diversity of people, diversity of races, diversity of thought, age, gender. That is how I feel most comfortable when I am in those types of spaces. So my experience with racism in America is not that different from anyone else's, but I just am really blessed that I have always taken an attitude of rising above it. And when they go low, we go high. And also, I mean, Black girl magic. Honestly, I'm fabulous. So that's that.
My name is Dr. Nishan Presley, and before I am an optometrist, I am Black. My road to becoming an optometrist was like no other. I was the first and still the only African American to graduate from the Pennsylvania College of Optometry's Accelerated Scholars Program, where I graduated with my doctorate degree in only 3 years. Now, while that may seem like a huge feat, and it definitely was, it came with so many obstacles. But not obstacles like tests or practicals, more like discriminatory, racist, and biased obstacles. I had to constantly prove that I belonged there, that I belonged in this space, that I belonged in this accelerated program. And not only did I have to do that, but I was also subjected to racial epithets, and I was even talked about in a bad way behind closed doors by my own preceptors. We need to get to a place that we all understand that judging someone by their skin tone is disgusting, utterly disgusting. We need to understand that Black lives matter, and my skin tone is not a threat to you.
I am so grateful to have so many colleagues support us on the Black Eye Care Perspective mission of getting the voice out there. You've heard from some amazing colleagues tell you their story, and they have overcome every single one of those obstacles. The roadblocks in the way did not stop them, and they're still here, they're still fighting, and they stand with the people out there protesting and trying to make change in America. But what does that have to do with eye care? How can we make sure that there's change in eye care? And that's what Black Eye Care Perspective is here to do. That's what we've been doing. And this is our time to try and help you guys understand what can we do. I would love to see, and this is part of our mission, to see more diversity in eye care. We want to see more of an emphasis put on having more minority participation in schools, specifically Black and brown children. We need to have a targeted plan and targeted action to getting those schools, going into HBCUs, making sure that they have an understanding about eye care. Some of these students have never been to an optometrist. We want to see more diversity in executive boards and executive leaderships. There's not enough Black and brown people making decisions about eye care. Black people make up 13% of the demographic in the United States. We need to see 13% of the executive boards. We need to see 13% of our sales reps. We need to see 13% of the marketing budgets go towards Black and brown people. We want to see ourselves represented in the marketing that is being done to minorities. We need to see Black and brown people in the marketing posters, in the advertisements on TV. And we want to see those people at the table when the marketing is being done to make sure it's done tastefully. So our mission at Black Eye Care Perspective is to be that voice. We want to help people that want to understand the Black perspective in America and how it relates to eye care. And we really want to see that represented at the marketing table, at the business table, and in the schools. We want to get the representation of Black people in schools up, and we are here to help. And we want to know, are you here with us? Thank you.